Hello YouTube, welcome to the way of coding called CodesWay. In this particular video I am gonna tell you how to learn a programming language. This is one question which many have asked me considerable number of times, so I decided to come up with this video. The languages which you are seeing in your screen, I am fairly comfortable in all of them, and I'll give you the same tips, tricks and techniques which I used to master these languages. So let's start. Now, before we start learning a programming language, let's answer one question. The criteria for choosing a programming language. Well, there is no straightforward way of saying which language is good, but there are a few points I request you to keep in mind before making a decision. Point number one, please do not religiously associate yourself with language of your choice. Frankly, friends, this is one of the worst thing a programmer can do. A programmer's ability to program will expand further if they expose themselves to the much bigger world which is outside of their day-to-day working and day-to-day domains. There are other regions too. The performance difference between different programming languages is relatively thin today, and you cannot just go ahead and say that this thing will work in all the situations. However, each of the programming language has their own playing field, and in their own playing field they can outdo other programming languages. For example, Scala and Java in big data area, Python and R in machine learning, C and C++ in game and real-time development. So you will have to consider all these things before making a choice on programming language. The second thing you should take care of is that programming language's complexity must not outdo problem complexity. For writing a simple sum function, please do not select a most complex programming language in the world. The reason being, we write program to solve a problem. So problem solving is the first thing we should look for. Programming language is just a medium. It's the problem which we want to solve, and we should choose a programming language which has the capability of allowing me to do in a relatively easy way. Now let's start about learning programming language. What is the first thing that comes to your mind when we start learning a programming language? Learning syntax. But unfortunately, syntax is the last thing you should worry about, because learning a programming language doesn't mean remembering the syntax of the programming language. In fact, syntax is one thing which should be last in your list for learning a programming language. Consider this, guys. Learning a syntax is similar to learning driving. You get comfortable with practice. You cannot just mug up, remember all the syntaxes that is there in that particular programming language. You will never ever get comfortable with. I know many people consider syntax, knowledge of syntax, as a knowledge of programming language, but this is totally wrong. Knowing syntax is totally different than knowing programming language. I am generally amused when I see people in my day-to-day life treats knowledge of syntax at par or even bigger than knowledge of programming. This is absolutely wrong. If you are interviewing people or judging people based on their programming abilities, syntax is the last thing you should worry about. If you are making a syntax error, the compiler, the interpreter, Google, all are there to help you with. But you should know a programming language is used for what purpose and why you have selected that particular programming language and what you are trying to achieve. The syntax error will go away, and over the course of time you will be learning syntax. You will be getting comfortable with the syntax. So please do not get concerned about syntax. Now the next step. Okay, I am not concerned about syntax, but how do you learn programming? One thing you should never do is to start with the trivial learning steps. I'll tell you what I mean by trivial learning steps, but there are lots of books, online resources out there which treats learning a programming language as climbing a ladder. This is not the case. I'm not saying they are not good, they are very useful resources, but just have a look at them as FYI kind of thing. Do not take that seriously. Just read all the book, see all the online course just as a FYI perspective. It will not teach you programming, because all these things starts with a kind of installation instructions. Then they ask you to write hello world program. So far so good. You need some setup, you need your laptop and environment which will allow you to explore and learn. But after that, you start learning about data types and how to create variables. Since functions are the basic building block of a programming language, you will learn how to create a function. Then you will learn about how to pass the values to the function and get the return values from the function. And after that, maybe you will go and learn classes and objects if the language is an object-oriented language, and so on and so forth. We go forward. But is there any problem with this? I can see a huge problem with this. This looks like that I am doing installation in first semester, hello world in second semester, data type in third semester. This is not the way one learns programming. You will never be able to learn programming in this way, no matter how many times you repeat this particular sequence, because this is boring, tedious, time consuming and outdated. And I am saying it without iota of shame, because I know this is not the way one learns programming. Just think about it. What are we being taught over here? We are not taught about programming in here. What this thing is teaching to us is a syntax of doing something in that programming language. It doesn't tells you how to do programming in that programming language. It just tells you the syntax. Even if it comes with some small exercises, it just let you be comfortable with the syntax of the said programming language, and it doesn't tells you how to program. So a very big thumbs down to this way of learning a programming language. So if this is not the way, then how should we learn? Well, that is what I'm gonna tell you now. So this is what you should do to learn a programming language. Start with a problem which you want to solve using this particular language. This problem may be your current problem. If you don't have a problem in your hand, just go back and find a problem which you have solved using the language which you have known earlier. If you don't know any language before learning this language, okay, just find any problem, any data structure problem out there. Okay, once you have the problem, just break the problem into small identifiable and manageable units. Basically this means that you draw some diagrams, some boxes. You don't need to create UML diagrams or any specific diagram. Anything which you can understand is fine. So basically after this step you will come up with different number of units which you need to solve this problem. After this, take a unit and try to code the unit in a said programming language. If you are not comfortable with the programming language, try to write pseudocodes. And once you have pseudocodes, learn what all is necessary to convert the pseudocodes into the codes, and repeat this particular step again. Once you repeat this step 3, 4, 5, 6 times, you will start to be comfortable with the programming language, and then you can go back and change all the units which you have coded earlier based on your acquired knowledge with your current progress. This is the way you should learn a programming language. Okay? So you might be thinking that, wait a minute, what is this? How can I just go ahead and code things about which I don't know? Fine. Okay, take help of Google, copy from Google or Stack Overflow. Even let some piece of the code which you do not understand properly into your function and let it run. Once it runs successfully, during second and third iteration, you will come to know what this piece of code is doing, and this is the way how you learn a programming language. Not by understanding what are the data types, how you can create user-defined types. What is the need for it? Unless you know the need for it, you will not learn programming language. And don't try to solve the problems which are out there in books like bank employee, employee code, number of student management. All those things are not what you will get in real world, and it will not help you learn programming. Find some problem which you want to solve, your organization want to solve, and then follow these steps. Believe me, it will be difficult in the beginning, but once you learn using this way, it's highly unlikely that you will forget it in future. And this is the same way I have learned all my programming languages. I have never learned any language from a book or from a course. I do look at them and as a FYI only, and those FYI I try to make use of it into my project, my problem which I want to solve. So guys, go ahead and follow this step to learn a programming language, and this is the way you should follow it up, and let me know how it turned out to be for you. So thanks a lot guys, thanks for watching. Please take a moment to like, subscribe, share and comment. It's all about your encouragement. Thank you, thanks a lot.